Okay, we are live. Welcome to anyone who's watching. Currently, it says 0 viewers, but I'm not going to necessarily trust Google Hangout. Also, this is being recorded for people to watch later, so I'm not just going to sit here and not say anything. Welcome to the live stream for the new episode of Fun Science. What's so great about Mars? We do have one person here now, so hello. If you want to interact with me, just pop on over to the chat on YouTube. It's best not to leave comments on the Patreon page I found from the last time I did this. So if you could pop on over to YouTube itself and leave comments in the chat, that would be lovely. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we made the new episode of Fun Science. Answer any questions you might have about the episode, about Mars, about Fun Science, or literally anything you want to ask me. I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to this stuff. And if you are here and you're just lurking, then do leave a comment, because it'd be nice to know who I'm talking to. I did see. No, it's just you, Cornelia, right now. It's just me and Cornelia just hanging out. I did see the question you left me, so I'm going to do my best to answer that one. It's a hard question, which is a permanent settlement on Mars like the one proposed by Elon Musk reasonable at all? I can't see how that would work long term. Could you explain, please? Thanks. It's not a subject I know too much about, to be perfectly honest with you, Cornelia. Like the nitty-gritty of the logistics of whether or not a colony on Mars would work. It does seem, it's one of those things where it definitely seems quite unreasonable when you just sort of think about it generally, like, oh, that will never really happen. It does, however, seem like if anyone is capable of doing it, it probably is going to be Elon Musk and SpaceX. I was reading an article just before I came on, which was about kind of experts' opinions on the logistics of whether or not it would be capable, and it definitely seems possible. I don't know if it necessarily seems possible in like the time scale that Musk is planning on, but when you kind of look at the logistics of what he's already accomplished with SpaceX, it seems as though it's not impossible by any stretch. I mean, like a permanent settlement on Mars probably makes more sense. In the video, I did mention briefly Mars One, which I think is actually probably a scam, to be honest. Trying to get people's money with the promise of them potentially being the first kind of Mars colonists. But one of the things that they kind of like say specifically is it would be a permanent settlement on Mars, just in the case that you're not going to come back. We are going there to settle permanently. And I mean, just in terms of like the basics, it makes more sense that it would be easier just to go one way than necessarily come back the other way. So in that case, the settlement would be permanent. Whether or not it, whether or not the people survive on Mars, that's a different question and a sadder one to think about. But yeah, long story short, it does seem possibly possible, but I'm also not an expert. So yeah, if you have any more questions, Cornelia, that would be, I'm happy just to chat with you, seeing as you're here. So if you have the money, and Musk has quite a lot, the logistics would work out. I mean, it has more than just, he probably does have the money, Elon Musk. I mean, he's doing pretty well for himself. And at least from what I read, experts who have looked at his plans are like, yeah, like there's nothing about it says that it's like impossible. It's just like obviously a very hard thing to accomplish. Whether or not we would be able to kind of like terraform Mars and turn it into like a new smaller Earth or something like that. I think that's a different topic, but at least in terms of like a permanent base on Mars, whether that be a base on the surface or underneath the surface, seems like it could happen, but who knows when that will actually happen, you know. So yeah, if you have any more questions, go for it. If not, I'll just kind of chat generally about how the Fun Science episode came together. This one for Mars, I think the suggestion came from when I actually asked people on Twitter for ideas. And one of them I think someone just said Mars. That was their whole suggestion, and I was like, I could just talk generally about Mars. And then the angle I went for was, let's just. People seem to care about Mars. Why is that? Why do we care about Mars so much? Like why is there even this conversation about like settling on it? But it doesn't look like that settlement will be self-sustaining. Says Cornelia. I mean, whether or not it will be is a question that is, like I said, kind of honestly a bit beyond my knowledge. I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know if it would necessarily be self-sustaining right away. That would require, you know, quite a lot of work. But one of the things I do know is that, like, what you can do is, if you're planning to kind of like settle, and I don't know if I'm just getting this information from what I read in The Martian, but to be honest, it's probably not a bad place to start, because that is a very scientifically accurate book. But what you would do is you would send everything you needed over to Mars first, and basically have all of that stuff set itself up, or set it up remotely so that everything is kind of ready to go. If you have a kind of like a small group, then it's possible it could be self-sustaining, I guess. But if that's not possible, then sending regular resources to Mars would be an option, at least to start off with. Yeah, like, to be perfectly honest, if I really wanted to kind of like go into this in any way where I would actually be able to kind of like know for sure that I'm talking about stuff that actually makes sense, I would want to bring in like an actual expert, or just Hank Green. Hank Green would probably know, to be honest. What else could I talk about? So with the Mars episode, what did we do? We had Julie come on. That's the first appearance of Julie in the episodes. She played the reporter character, and she helped out with a lot of the roles that we had needed for this kind of season of Fun Science. We have an episode about artificial intelligence coming up, where she plays a robot, and another one coming up where I needed a caveman, and she makes a very good caveman. She was very good at that. She has a YouTube channel herself. The YouTube channel is Feeling Peckish. She's also just really lovely, and has a training in acting, and just like knows how to do stuff. I wasn't even around when they were filming her like reporter scene. Like, I wasn't directing at all. Like, I was giving notes and things while we were shooting, but my friend Louise was doing the directing, and I was just like, you know what, it was the first time where I was just like, I trust everyone in this room just to do a good job, and I'll just come back and watch it later when I edit it together. If you have any more questions, Cornelia, I know I've said that like 10 times. I'm happy to not rely on you. I can just keep talking, but currently it is just you and me. So, like, I want to actually impart some knowledge in this, so that if people come back and watch this later, there's some stuff that they can get out of it. But you could ask me anything, and I will happily answer it. What else could I talk about? One little nugget of information that might be fun is when I did the kind of interview with the reporter and the robot, Curiosity rover, it took me quite a long time to figure out how to animate that correctly. I'm not an animator. I know some basics of how to work After Effects, but I was kind of worried about making it. Oh, you've got another question for me. Let me just keep the. I'll finish my thought. I was worried about how I was going to do that logistically, and I actually finished the animation for that the day of. There was a plan originally that I had where I was like, I actually filmed my mouth saying all of the lines for the rover, and I was going to possibly like superimpose my mouth onto the rover. And I did like 2 hours of work to try and make that look good. And I watched it back and I was like, this is really creepy and distressing. And if I do it this way, people are going to be really distracted by the fact that this robot has a human mouth. So eventually I did something just sort of quick and dirty, and I think it looks fine. But yeah, that was very last minute. So about the water, I didn't quite understand if there are still ice caps or if there were. So there are still ice caps on Mars for sure. The history part was just that it took a long, like that was just something that we knew about for a long, long time. It's like, yeah, we've known about it, I think, since I said the 1700s. So yeah, I don't know, like every now and then I just sort of like hear about like the question of water on Mars, and I thought it was kind of fun that, you know, ice is obviously, like, some people won't be like, oh, that doesn't count as water, but yeah, it's been there, and we also know that there was flowing water on Mars, like lots of water, just based on the way that the rock formations work. You just look at them and like know, okay, in order for these formations to happen, they must have been eroded by lots of flowing water. So that's why one of the reasons people are so obsessed with Mars. Like, water possibly equals life, and there was water, so maybe there's still life, who knows. And the ice is on the planet, and it's possible that because the ice is so thick that if there is life, it might be under the crust of the ice. There is also occasionally flowing water in the form of those liquid brines that I mentioned briefly, just like very salty water. It's like very slow flowing water, so not kind of like what we'd be used to for like rivers and things. I have no idea if it's like life supporting or not. I don't know if that's been kind of like figured out yet, but just the fact that flowing water, it just kind of like is exciting. And it would be, yeah, like regular H2O ice water. Yeah, nothing kind of like weird or fancy going on there. Maybe there is, but as far as I'm aware, it's just regular water that is frozen, just in the same way as it works on the poles on Earth. What else can I talk about? What did we do for this one? So we had I kind of want to talk a little bit about the 3D sphere effects, because we had basically the Cute episode was edited entirely by me, and then we've got these 5 other episodes which were all put together in like a rough version by my friend Tom, who's an editor. So he was working on like a rough cut of all of the other 5 while I was like rushing to get the Cute one kind of completely finished. And it seemed like he was just sort of like having fun, and he works in this place where there's like lots of other kind of like editors and people around. And so he had someone who was like, I'm bored. What you're working on looks like it's kind of fun. Can I do the effects for it? And I think Tom was like, I don't know if they'll use any of the effects. And he was like, yeah, I just want something to do. So a fair amount of the effects that he did for the episode, I did end up replacing, which made me feel sad, but it was like, these are good effects, but not exactly what I wanted. But he did do the thing where he was like, he had this sort of like 3D like spinning globes, which is something I had no idea how to do. And I edited them a bit, and it basically he just taught me how to do that because he did it and then sent me the files. And I think that stuff makes it feel like more professional, even though it's like actually super easy to do. So yeah, but I don't know. I thought it was cool when you sent me that. I was like, oh my god, this looks so much better than anything I've done. Like you're gonna like if I was worried basically that he would like have done all of the effects for that one, and I would be like, I don't know how to do this for all of the other ones because he literally only did the effects for that one Mars episode. What else can I talk about? So I can talk a little bit about the next episode that is coming up. So that'll happen in 2 weeks' time. And I'm just going to find the files because I can't remember what the next episode is. Will robots ever be smarter than us? So that's the next one that's coming. So Julie is in that one again, playing the robot. And I am very interested in robots and artificial intelligence generally. And so I just really wanted to do an episode just about that. It's a topic that I've done a lot of my own research into. So I was like, it probably won't be that hard. I actually thought I would have enough information in my head already to do a whole episode. And then I had to do a lot more research in order to be able to make a whole episode work. But there's one sketch in particular in the middle of that episode that I'm pretty proud of, which is, it's difficult trying to make stuff that is like funny and also imparts information at the same time. But I think I did a good job with that one. Aren't we already there with some AI that it can beat you at least in some specific cases? So yes, there is AI that exists. I'm sure I'll talk about this on the live stream. Oh, we have 2 people here, by the way. Whoever is the second person, do leave a question in the chat. Pop on over because it's just been me and Cornelia up until now. Because researchers destroyed them when they learned swear words, etc. So we are already there with some AI, but what we have right at the moment is like AI that is very good at specific tasks. And what's more worrisome is like the next level up of AI, and then kind of like subsequently the level up above that. So you have, I believe it's called ANI, artificial narrow intelligence, which is artificial intelligence that is just good at one specific thing. So when you hear a story about like a robot, like an AI being the best at playing chess and like beating grandmasters, it's like, great, you built an AI that's like better at playing chess than any human, but can it tell you what love is? No, because it's not generally good. And that's the next level up is artificial general intelligence, where it's like artificial intelligence on the same level as a human being. And then the one up from that is artificial superintelligence, which is the scary one, where an AI is exponentially smarter than a human being and would inevitably take over the planet at that point if it were able to kind of like have that level of intelligence and also any kind of level of any kind of amount of, I don't know, independence. So that's more of the worries. But yeah, in the case of a researcher destroying AI when they learn swear words, I think that was wasn't that with Microsoft built an AI Twitter bot or something, and it was just learning based on Twitter just how to interact with people, and it basically turned into like, I'm pretty sure it turned into like a white supremacist. I don't know if it was like necessarily because it was like smart or anything. It was just like, I thought Microsoft thought it would be a good brand opportunity, and it didn't work out that way. There are some really interesting like incidents recently in AI. Like there was an AI that was built it was just a machine learning type of thing where it was fed images of gay men and straight men, and then it was able to figure out with, I think, a 91% accuracy whether a man was gay or straight just based on a photo, which is very, very odd. I don't know why that was something that AI researchers thought that this was worth looking into, but they never kind of come up with a justification for that sort of thing. And then there was also the Facebook AI, where it was like two artificial intelligence that were supposed to kind of like be talking to one another, and they started to develop their own language, or like way of communicating in a kind of more efficient manner. And Facebook were like, oh, that's scary. They're talking to each other in ways we don't understand. Let's shut them down. Which kind of seems silly to me anyway, because in the case of like the machine learning one that was able to figure out with that kind of 91% accuracy, I think it's 91%, whether or not a man was gay or not, right? It's not like they are programming in, oh, you need to be looking for these specific features in a face. Like, it's just fed all of these images, and then the machine kind of like looks itself based on what it can see different between those two types of people, and then makes its own assumptions. It's learning information. It's not necessarily like learning information in a way that it would be particularly good at communicating. Like, it's figuring its stuff out in its own language anyway. Like, that's just how the machine learning works. So it would be, it's basically not really that different to two machines talking to each other and starting to figure out their own language. So I don't really know necessarily why. Maybe it's just a kind of like a PR thing, but in my mind, a machine that's learning by itself is probably doing stuff that's scarier than two machines talking to each other. The only thing that's scarier with the two machines talking to each other is it's slightly easier to understand that they are communicating in a way that humans wouldn't. Anyway, I don't know if all of that is super boring. I just think it's interesting, and yeah. Like, also, what about bisexual men? Who knows, right? It was basically like an algorithm that was set just to, it was fed only pictures of either straight men or gay men. Like what about gay women? You know, it's not, it's just like a very kind of like specific niche thing, which is just like, why is that something that anybody should be looking into? Like, who knows? That's what they did. I'm glad you think it's interesting too, because you're here and it's what I'm talking about. So yeah, the next one coming up will be about artificial intelligence. But it involves my friend Julie playing a robot, my robot servant. And it's all very, very silly, but hopefully it's fun and it's science. That's what you come for, I hope. What else is there with the Mars episode then that I could talk about? I'm just gonna like go to the video on my YouTube channel and just like scrub through it just to see if there's anything in there.
Let's begin with...
That's me. That's me in the trailer for Fun Science. What else is in there? Got the salesman bit, which I thought was pretty fun to do. Got the canals of Mars, which is definitely something I was like happy to talk about, because I don't know, I do find myself like not just interested in like science of today, but like what people used to think of as science. Like this whole idea of the people thinking that there were canals on Mars as like that was like essentially the scientific consensus of the time. That's just like, it's a really odd thing to think about, that was the truth at that time, that seemed as though there was evidence of actual life on Mars. That's just mad. No, I think I talked about pretty much everything, didn't I? I mean, it's a 7-minute video, and I edited it in basically a week, so it was very hard. And exhausting, and I got very tired. I didn't really realize that I was going to have to do that much editing. So the next one I will spend 2 weeks editing it, because that's how much time it takes to really put one of these things together. I was going to ask you what's a good time to do these live streams, but that's probably a good time to ask all of the people who aren't here right now, because I think like maybe like 13 people got this perk, and then possibly more people above that, right? So where are those people? Maybe I'll do a separate post on Patreon to try and figure out in the future, like exactly when is a good time to do these live streams, because I would like to have as many people who have this perk as possible be able to come to them. I mean, part of the problem is I wanted to do it yesterday, but I was just really tired, so I didn't. So the weekend is probably better generally, so I'll try and do that in the future. Would it have been possible for humans to introduce bacteria, etc., on Mars? So now they maybe turn into a place on Mars. I'm not sure I understand this question. Something else to be able to live on Mars and this way life on Mars, like introduce essentially like life to Mars. I'm pretty sure that I know that when so I mean this is like no worries at all. It's an interesting question. So I actually was lucky enough to go to the NASA Jet Propulsion Labs and visit the Curiosity rover while it was being put together, which was awesome. And it was being put together in a clean room, which I think, I mean, one of the results of that is it's like, I think there would be a very low chance of any bacteria being able to make it to the planet, because that's one of the things you want to avoid is like, if you're looking for life on Mars, you want to be able to not introduce like other life to the planet just in case it kind of like you're like, oh, we found life on Mars. Oh, but it's life that we brought there ourselves. Oh, damn it. Like, and just like messing with that in a way where you want to be able to kind of like keep Mars clean so that when you find life there, you know that it's life that actually came from there. Whether or not like bacteria that did end up on Mars could adapt to life on the planet, it's probably possible. And I mean, I don't know for sure. Like, it's very difficult to know. But my not very well informed viewpoint on this topic would say that it's probably possible, but who knows? I really don't know, to be honest. I feel like it could be, but like there's nothing in that says. I guess it's just like what they use as a food source, but I really don't know. I'm not even going to try and answer that question anymore because I would just be talking about that out of my ass, to be perfectly honest. Hey, Charlotte's here. Woo! Intentionally to see if it could survive. Oh, I mean, it would be something, I would say that would be something that you would probably want to do in a lab on Earth, and you would recreate the conditions of Mars in order to see if it could survive, because that would be more informative and less risky in terms of bringing bacteria to the planet. I don't know what I would guess that maybe experiments have probably been done in that area, but I don't know for sure. But it would be interesting. Plus, it would be way easier to do that. Like, a lot of Mars science is done on Earth because it's like way easier to do it here than it is to go to Mars. Oh, you didn't necessarily mean bringing them intentionally. I mean, yeah, like I don't know for sure, but I would imagine that would be something that they would want to avoid. I think it's also a good reason to like hold off on like bringing people to Mars for as long as you can, just in case. But who knows? Cool. I got about a minute left, so if you have any more cues and quick cues, then I'll be happy to answer them, and then I'll hop on off to the rest of my day. Because yeah, Mars is lovely. It's a good one. What other planets have I done? I've just done Saturn. In terms of other planets, I did also do Pluto, which, as we all know, is not a planet, but I did do that too. But I feel like I've done the ones that are kind of the most interesting. Sorry, other planets, if that's offensive. Jupiter is probably a good one to do, maybe Venus as well, but we'll see. I'm glad you're looking forward to the next episode too. But thank you for sticking around and giving me someone to talk to, because that's what this is all about. All right, I'll hop on off. It will always be a planet in your heart. It's not. That's fine. It's completely fine that you consider Pluto to be a planet, just so long as you know it isn't one. And that isn't a bad thing at all. It's not a bad thing. Although I do still like to personify Pluto, obviously, and be like, oh, poor little thing, and then also make fun of it. Anyway, thank you so much for supporting Fun Science on Patreon, and through other means of just watching the episodes and hopefully enjoying them. It means a lot, especially because kind of new to this whole Patreon thing, and it's just awesome that you would want to help me to continue to make it. I'm really hoping that I'll be able to kind of like keep doing this for a long time and be able to kind of like keep pushing it. Oh, we have 3 people here now. So apologies to that third person who's just popped in, but we have reached the end of the live stream now. But hopefully, whatever your question was, maybe it's already in something that I've talked about, or if not, I'm happy to talk about it in the next live stream that we do in the next couple of weeks, which will be when the next episode comes out of Fun Science. Okay. I'll finish there. Thanks again for coming and for supporting. You guys are lovely. Bye-bye.